Welcome to the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, the show that puts the spotlight on the incredible women who fuel the world of motorsports. From drivers to crew members, engineers to fans, and everyone in between, we're here to celebrate the trailblazers, dreamers, and doers shaping the sport we love. Each episode, we share inspiring stories of females of all ages from every corner of the motorsports universe, past, present, and future. It's a journey through the seasons of life filled with heartfelt moments, laughter, and a whole lot of horsepower. So whether you're a lifelong fan, a racer yourself, or simply curious about the extraordinary women behind the wheel, settle in, relax, and enjoy a fun and uplifting ride with us. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, connecting and celebrating women in motorsports, one story at a time. Let's hit the track. Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. And we're trying something a little different tonight, Addie. So Addy Wade is my guest. And we decided we were going to see if we could do a live show and also record. I think it's working. And we're just going to go for it, Addie. So just forget about everybody else. It's just a conversation with you and I. So welcome to the show. And the first thing I want you to do is just tell me a little bit about yourself, your family, your pets, anything you want to share.
Okay, I also just want to say thank you so much for reaching out to me.
Oh,
because
sure.
This is such a great opportunity.
Oh, I'm happy you could be on.
And so I go to Pine River School. I'm in 9th grade, and I have a lot of siblings, a ton of brothers, and outside of racing, I just do soccer and track, and yeah, that's.
And what grade did you say you were in?
9th grade.
9th grade. So you're a freshman. Okay. And you do other sports besides racing. So that keeps you busy all year round and keeps your parents busy too. So a ton of brothers. Are you the only girl?
No, I actually do have a sister at my dad's and a sister at my mom's.
Okay. All right. So you're not the only girl, but there's a lot of boys. So
yeah,
that just prepares you, Addie, for racing because you're surrounded by boys when you're at the racetrack, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So you're a freshman in high school. How old were you when you first got interested in motorsports?
So basically, like, ever since I was little, I've definitely always loved the racetrack and just riding four-wheelers too. And I think I first, like, knew that I was kind of going to get into racing when I was about 9. So that's when I first started racing mini wedges.
Okay. And where do you race at?
In the beginning, we just kind of raced at Merritt, which is close by Lake City, so it was just close to home and easy to go to.
Uh-huh.
And now we've gone to, like, Indiana. We've gone to a couple other tracks in Michigan too, like Crystal Motor Speedway, Thunderbird, Tri-City, Winston. And then I've also gone to, like, a couple indoor ones for the mini wedge, but that's just about it.
Okay, so you started in mini wedges when you were little?
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, and so that's still what you're doing, right? That's what you're going to race
No,
this year?
actually,
or you're moving up?
Right now, this will be my 3rd year in a street stock.
Okay, that's what I thought. I didn't think you were still racing mini wedges. So you did that, and then did you go from there to the street stock?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so you've been doing street stock. This will be your 3rd year?
Yeah.
Okay, and what tracks do you race at for the street stock?
We've only gone to Thunderbird, Merritt, and Crystal, but we're hoping to go to more this year.
Okay, all right. And is that dirt or asphalt? Dirt, yeah, because I was going to say, you don't come over to my side of Michigan because we only have one dirt track that's very close, and that's Hartford. And the rest of our tracks are asphalt. So that doesn't work for the car that you're racing for sure.
Yeah.
The dirt tracks seem to be more north and more on the west side of the state, that would be the east side of the state. So, have you ever raced asphalt?
I have in the mini wedge, but not in the street stock.
And so, do you like racing on dirt?
Yeah, it's definitely more fun, I think.
So, what's fun about it?
Um, I think basically it's just like the adrenaline rush that comes with it. I think is definitely the most fun part about it, and you just like I don't know, you just feel alive when you're out there.
It's different because of all the like sliding and
Oh yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I grew up around asphalt tracks and that's what NASCAR is and that's what I watch mostly. But man, you can get addicted to watching that dirt stuff. That is so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever been to the Tulsa shootout?
I haven't, but I've watched it.
Yeah, that's a great those people that race that and the Chili Bowl is just so fun to watch. I was like hooked on watching it when it was on a few weeks ago.
Oh
So
yeah,
fun, and there were a lot of girls at the Tulsa
yeah,
shootout. In fact, I interviewed a couple of them that raced, and they were just having so much fun. So put that on your bucket list, even if you just go to
for
watch. You
sure.
know, I want to go. I mean, obviously, I won't be racing, but I want to go to watch because that'll be so fun to do for sure. So, when you on your street stock, are you hands on? Do you like help with the car, or do you have your dad and all those brothers that help?
So I basically my brothers don't really help too much. They're more on my mom's side, so they
Okay.
just don't really help at the racetrack that much. But I do some stuff, but it's definitely mostly my dad, and then there's a couple people at the racetrack that help out too.
Okay. All right. I figured that. So,
Yeah.
what was the biggest challenge you had learning to drive on dirt with the street stock?
Um, Honestly, the biggest challenge really wasn't me learning how to drive. I think it was mostly just me learning how to like face the difficulties with like all the guys coming at me definitely and just I mean, I would get picked apart everywhere I went. So I think that that was definitely the most difficult thing.
Yeah, and that's just not fair. And we got
Yeah.
to we got to make sure those things get changed. So when you say they picked you apart, did they try to crash you or run into you on the track? And
Yeah,
then yeah, and then they
and
picked on you afterwards too when you were out of the car?
yeah, for sure. They
Yeah.
definitely yeah. It's just crazy to see like how many adults would want to pick apart a young girl, but
Mhm. And that's why the kids do it because they see the adults do it. And
yeah.
adults should know better, especially in this day and age. I mean, come on. We see girls pretty much at every track nowadays.
Right.
And we see girls in the bigger series and that and I think a lot of it is they're intimidated by a girl and they're afraid they're going to get beat by a girl. And
For
nobody
sure.
wants, especially adult men, they don't want their son beat by a girl. And that's on them. That's not on you, Addie. So you just got to keep going out there and doing your best and not let that. I know it's hard not to let it bother you, but really when you're in racing, you've got to have some thick skin, that's for sure.
Yeah, especially as a girl too in racing.
Yeah. So, are there any other girls that race when you race?
Yeah, there are. There's actually two in my class. Katie Robinson and Delana Cake. They're definitely pretty good at racing.
Yeah, I met Delana at the Michigan promoters meeting a couple years ago. I don't think I've met the other gal, but at least you're not alone. I mean, do they get picked on too?
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, I figured they did. Does what's the best way to handle that? How do you handle that like at the track? I mean, when you're out on the track and they run into you, there's not a whole lot you can do except run back into them, which probably isn't what your dad wants you to do. But when
Right.
you get out of the car and people say things, how do
So
you handle
honestly,
it?
I think that I just kind of try not to let it get under my skin and just try to keep it out of my head. And just, I kind of think about, like, to myself, like, obviously I'm doing something good or doing something right if they're trying to come at me. So,
That's exactly what I think too. Just like I said, they don't want to get beat by you. And so they think that they're going to get in your head by saying stuff. And if you just show them that that doesn't bother you and you're just going to go on, at some point they're going to stop. They
right.
just will. And just so you know, it is getting better. When I first started interviewing girls in 2018, it was pretty normal for that to happen, especially to get run into on the track or spun out or whatever. It's getting better. So you just got to hang in there and show them that you're tough. And I'll never forget Haley Deegan. She got pushed around a lot. I think it was the truck series she was in. She was getting pushed around a lot. And I can't remember now who it was, but she got out of the car on pit lane and walked right up to the guy and just was poking him in the chest and giving him hell. And so, you know, at some point, that's what you got to do. You got to stand up for yourself. So,
Yeah, she's definitely always been one of my role models.
yeah, absolutely, for sure. Because she's pretty tough cookie if she wants to be. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you've been in the street stock. Do you like running the street stock?
I do. It's really fun and it's definitely really challenging.
And it's a very competitive class, I'm going to bet.
Yeah, it is. And there's, like, just every weekend we get more and more cars.
Yeah. Even in the Kalamazoo area, street stock is probably the most competitive and the most fun to watch series, or class to watch.
Yeah.
And there is more and more. I mean, once you get up to a late model or an outlaw, the costs are so much more, and yet the street stocks really put on a good show. And I love the street stocks. That's what my granddaughter was racing. She's got her car for sale. Now she's not going to race this year, but that's what she was racing. Her boyfriend still races it. And that's probably my favorite class. I love the street stocks. I love to watch them. So what's the thing that you look forward to the most on race day?
Um, I definitely just look forward to definitely, like, hanging out, like, in the pits and just being able to see everybody there. But also, I just love, like, the thrill that comes with racing, especially, like, when you're in pit lane and you have your helmet on, and it's crazy.
It is crazy. I couldn't do it, that's for sure. So was your dad a racer?
He raced dirt bikes, but he
Okay.
never raced cars.
So what really was the thing that got you to where you're like, I really want to do this?
Definitely my dad,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay. All right.
We would go out there all the time, and I remember just, like, one weekend I was finally like, Dad, I really want to do this. This would be like a crazy dream for me. And, like, the next weekend after that, I remember pulling into the racetrack and I was just ready to watch, and then some guy showed up and I got my first race car.
Wow. So you must be number 02.
Yeah,
Okay. Do you know Brooke Diamond?
I do.
Okay.
That's
She
my
said,
stepmom.
okay. She said, let's go, O2. So she's on the chat. So if you're watching this, you can be on the chat. And if you do, we'll give you a shout out to Addie so she knows. So, Addie, what do you think it takes to be successful in racing? And I don't mean necessarily winning a race. I mean that you are having fun. You're not the person that's wrecking everybody. You're just having a good year, even if it's not in the winner's circle. What do you think it takes to do that?
I definitely think that all it takes is just a good, like, positive mindset towards it. And that is something that I still struggle with, but I've been trying to get better at it. It's just, like, I think that when like, you just keep losing and losing, it's good to just keep a positive mindset for sure. That way you don't, like, lose your love for the sport.
Yeah. And you know that when you're in racing, you're going to lose more than you're going to win.
For
I mean,
sure.
it's not like softball where or soccer you could win every game and go to the
Right.
championship, right? But racing's not that way. And it doesn't mean you're not a good driver or that you don't have a good car. It's just the law of averages. There's 30 cars on the track, you've got a 3% chance of winning.
Mhm.
It's just how it is. And so we have to just stay positive. And I love hearing you say that, especially when you know that when you go to the track, you've got people that don't want you there, right?
Yeah.
Those boys don't want you there. And if that was me, that would just make me want to be there all the more.
Right, for sure. I think that that's probably me too. I love just like seeing the look on their faces, especially with the mini wedges. I mean, it started to get to the point where like they would just call me a cheater just because I was winning and they were
Yeah.
upset about it.
Yeah. Well, what else are they going to say? They're not going
Right.
to say, "Oh, you did great,"
Right.
or whatever. And if they were taught right by their parents, that is what they would say. And they would say, "Addie, you did a good job out there. How, why did you run that line, or how did you do that to win?"
Right.
You know, and that's the way it ought to be. But as we well know, it's not. It's better in some places than others, and I hope at some point it gets better for you too. When you have a bad night and the race is over, what do you do? How do you handle it? You go to your hauler. What do you do?
So Richie Sutherland is part of my pit crew, and usually if I have a bad night, usually he'll walk me out to the track and we'll just talk about like either like I ran the wrong line or like I just kept hitting this one bump or like he'll just help me change my like attitude or just show me like what I could do different next time.
Yeah, and that's good because sometimes we want to just cry because it just makes us feel better.
Yeah.
But then, even if we do that, having somebody who can take us and calmly say to us, let's go look and see what we could do different. And it's not a criticism. It's not, oh, why didn't you do this? It's more of a, hey, let's see what we can do to be better. And
Right.
that's important. Yeah, that's important for sure. So you never think about quitting though, do you, after a bad night?
No,
No.
definitely not.
Mm-mm. No, because you love racing. I can tell by the smile on your face.
Yeah.
So on race day, what's your routine? Do you eat the same thing? Do you wear the certain shirt or socks? What's your
So,
superstition?
um, there is one thing. I'm very superstitious. I don't eat peanut butter on race days because it's bad luck, and I also don't wear green. Those two things are bad luck. And I have this one pair of socks that has Ricky Bobby on it, and I wear those like for a season, and then like I won't wash them. I know that people will probably say that this is gross, but I'm definitely super superstitious about that stuff.
I love it. That is so funny. So I'm going to tell you a couple funny things. First of all, I didn't know that peanut butter was bad luck.
Yeah,
I've
my
never
my friend Mila Stemler actually taught me that. So
I never knew that. I knew about the green. Green is supposed to be bad luck, although you see cars with green on them and stuff nowadays. I don't know. And really, green should be good luck. That's the color of the flag. But anyway,
right.
I know that it is supposedly bad luck. And I love the Ricky Bobby thing because a couple years ago, I got a dog for Christmas slash birthday. And it was a little Shih Tzu, and he weighed like 5 pounds at the time. And my husband wanted me to name him Ricky Bobby. And I
Oh,
said, "Oh, that's just cruel. I can't do that." So we named him Crew instead, like Pit Crew.
oh
So
yeah,
my little Shih Tzu, he weighs 11 pounds and his name is Crew. But he wanted to name him Ricky Bobby, and I just couldn't do that. But the socks, that's a hoot. And, you know, I mean, I'm sure they're dirty. Come on, I know
oh
they are.
yeah,
But you can probably shake the dirt out of them and hang them up to air dry and put them on the next week, right? Yeah.
yeah.
So have you always worn those socks, or every year you get something different?
So I actually have been wearing those since my first championship year.
Okay, that's the story. So
Yeah.
you won a championship when you were wearing them, and so now that's why they're good luck.
Mhm.
I knew there had to be some reason because you don't just wear dirty socks for no reason.
Right, right.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. And was that in the mini wedges that you won the championship?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't blame you. If I ever see another pair of Ricky Bobby socks, though, I'm going to get them for you.
Okay.
That way you have two pair and you can, So now, do you think motorsports is a good sport for girls to be in?
I do, for sure. I think that is a good sport for anybody to be in, as long as they love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And as long as they go into it knowing some of the things that we talked about, you're not always going to win, you're going to
Right.
have bad nights, all those different things, right? Yeah. But it is a good sport and we all love it. I wouldn't want to not be involved in it. I've met so many wonderful people like you, Addie, that I would have never got to meet had I not been
Yeah.
involved in this. So that's what I love about it for sure. So the other girls that you raced against, are you friends off the track though?
Yeah. We mostly just talk like at the racetrack. We're not really friends outside of it, but
Yeah, because you probably don't live in the same town.
right, right.
Right. Yeah. But you are still friends on the track and hopefully you can kind of help each other get past all those boys and men that are not good to you for
Oh
sure.
yeah, that's definitely something that we talk about with each other.
I'm sure. So, have you had any kind of a fan experience like when you go to the track, I'm sure you have autograph night. Are there a lot of little girls that come up
Oh
to you or maybe even
yeah.
little boys? My granddaughter had a couple little boys that just were in love with her. So what
So
about you?
actually, I have a funny story. So Merritt Speedway has their big weekend, Wood Tick weekend, and there was actually these two little boys who came up from Florida, and they came up to me and they said that their goal for Wood Tick weekend was to get a helmet from a race car driver. And I actually had that pink helmet that's in that picture back there. I gave that to them. And they were
Oh,
just like, their face lit up as soon as I gave it to them.
I'll bet it did. And they'll never forget that.
Yeah.
They'll never forget that. So I'm going to tell you in the chat, Cheyenne Fantuzzo, she's one of my ladies that I just did a podcast with not long ago. Cheyenne lives in, I want to say Texas, and she drives a race car. And then Tyler Bryan, you know
Oh,
Tyler?
yeah. I know him.
Because Addie is one awesome young lady with a great family. So that's a nice, thanks Tyler for getting on and watching and leaving that message. So I know you're only a freshman in high school, so you're probably what, 14,
Hmm.
15? So you may not have thought about this yet, but we talk about people leaving a mark on a sport or leaving a mark on something that they do, a legacy type thing.
Hmm.
If you could choose something that, when you're older and you're maybe done racing, they look back and they say, that Addy Wade, she did this or she was like that. What would you like people to say?
So I actually think that I may have already left a little bit of a legacy.
Good.
So at Merritt Speedway in the mini wedges, I was winning a lot of races, and so Mike Blackmare, actually the owner of Merritt, started bashing us on Facebook and all that about me being a cheater. And so the guy who actually created or put together our motor, he came back at Mike and told him that like our motor's not cheater, like we would never cheat with his motors. And Mike also said that like I didn't deserve the trophies that I was winning. So I would start giving them out in the stands to just random little girls and other little kids. And
Hmm.
I think that that definitely left a little bit of a legacy.
Oh, for sure. And this is the track owner.
Yeah.
What a shame. He needs to have his I don't know, take that track away from him.
Yeah,
he should be promoting and supporting all drivers.
right. And so he also told me that like I didn't deserve to be in the mini wedge anymore. So that's part of the reason why I moved to the street stock was
Mm-hmm.
just to get out of that and start going further with my like
Yeah.
racing career.
Because that's a toxic environment.
Right.
And what, I mean, I don't know him. I don't know anything about really Merritt other than I've just heard of it. I haven't been there.
Yeah.
But why would a track owner be
Right.
so toxic when that's his life? He's trying to get people to come there. That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. And so good for you that you're, first of all about the trophies, because I know you just make little girls and even little boys' day if you can
Yeah.
give them a trophy, because
Yeah,
that's
for
such
sure.
a big deal, and then just say, you know what, I'm not going to race with you anymore because you're toxic. I'm going to race a different class. And so there you go. And that's the best way to handle it. You did good. So Cheyenne says, you're an awesome lady racer. When you gave that pink helmet to the two little boys, she said it when you told the story, my heart melted.
Oh, thank you.
Cheyenne's a sweet, sweet girl, very sweet girl. So when you go to the track, is your mom supportive? I mean, mom and stepmom, I know you kind of got a blended family. Usually it's the moms that have a harder time with their kids racing. Is
So,
that true in your
um,
family or not?
my mom actually doesn't really like to come to the racetrack. It doesn't really get along there, so
Okay.
she just doesn't really like to support me in racing.
Okay.
But my dad and my stepmom definitely do.
Well, I shouldn't have probably asked you that, but that's okay, because
That's okay.
this is real life. This is
Yeah,
how it is. And everybody's not a race fan. They really aren't.
yeah,
And so, that's okay. She doesn't have to be. She probably goes to your soccer games and she does other stuff. But it's just it's not something that everybody can do. And I get that. And so but your dad and your stepmom do, and so that's what you do with them, and so you still have family that are supportive of you, which we all need that no matter what we do, whether it's
yeah.
school or being in the band or whatever. We need that. And so yeah, that's great. So I did ask you though, do you eat something special on the same day? You don't eat peanut butter, I know that, but do you, like, when you go to the track, it's like, oh, I love their corn nuggets or I love their corn dogs or whatever it is? Or do
So,
you take your food?
I actually am a little bit addicted to Red Bull. It's so I usually have like one of those before a race, but that's
Okay.
probably actually when I was younger. Merritt Speedway did used to have like the cookie ice cream sandwiches.
Yeah.
I always thought that those were good luck before my features. So
Okay. So yeah, I some track food you just have to have when you go there. I mean,
yeah,
I know it's just like bar food. It's deep fat fried and it's probably not good for you, but you just crave that. And when you get to the track, you smell it. And yours is Red Bull, and you're only drinking one, right?
yes, only
Oh,
one.
okay, because I'm a fan of Red Bull, but in moderation. Okay,
Yeah,
in
yeah, for
moderation.
sure.
So, do you know Gretchen Brown?
Yeah, that's my aunt actually.
Okay, Gretchen. She says, we think you're awesome. And so, Gretchen, thank you for putting that on there. We are going to build up all these women in motorsports. We're not letting the men tear them down. We're building them up and cheering them on. That's for sure. So, has anybody given you any advice about, how to drive or how to treat people or anything at all? Any kind of advice that's kind of stuck with you?
Yeah, so definitely Travis Stemler, when I first started, definitely gave me a lot of advice for racing. And also Richie Sutherland, who I talked about earlier, he's definitely given me a lot of advice too.
Okay. Is there anything special that sticks out that you remember that you kind of hang on to? Like, this is kind of my thing.
Um So one of my sponsors, Ron Anklem, he actually before my race and Travis Semler's race, he'll always like give us a fist bump and tell us to enjoy the ride, and that's definitely something that sticks with me.
Yeah, that's good. So do you know Joyce Finch?
Yes, I do. She's my grandma.
Okay, Joyce, Grandma Joyce. She says, "Way to go, Addie." And then Haley Jade says, "Go, Addie." So you've got lots of people listening to us tonight, Addie. So that's a lot of fun. I might have to do live streams a little more often. This has been a lot of fun to have the comments there.
Yeah.
So, you look down the road and maybe you want to be a race car driver for a profession, maybe not. Have you ever thought about if there's something else that you want to do? Like, I want to be a nurse, but I still want to be a race car driver. Have you
Yeah,
thought about
so
anything like that?
I actually do plan on being a nurse practitioner, but I definitely do still want to stick with racing. So
Yeah,
I guess we'll just see where it takes me.
yeah, for sure. Those are good goals, and they're realistic. I love when girls say to me, "I want to be the next, um, you know, NASCAR driver, NASCAR champion, or I want to run the World of Outlaws series," which no women do. I don't know why. I've never figured that out. And I love that. I love that that's what they want to do, but I also know how hard it is. And so I always encourage girls, women to what else do you like? Do you like photography? You could be the team photographer. Do you like hair and makeup? Did you know that NASCAR has hair and makeup people that they fly to every race, that they do the hair and makeup of the analysts on TV? I didn't
Wow,
know
I
that.
did not know that. That's
I
great.
didn't either till I met somebody that did that. And it was a very cool interview. So there's a lot of ways to stay involved in racing without
Right.
maybe being the driver. But being a nurse practitioner and a driver, I can see that those two would still, they would still go together for sure. What's your favorite memory from being involved in motorsports?
Oh, I don't know. There's a lot.
Well,
Um,
more than one. You can say more than one, couple, whatever.
Probably I have this one race that's definitely my favorite. In Fort Wayne, Indiana, they have a race on New Year's and it's called the Rumble.
Hmm.
And that's I went to it 2 times in the mini wedge and that was a super fun race. I got to meet a lot of famous people like Tony Stewart and there's just
Hmm.
a ton of people that I got to meet. So
Yeah.
that's definitely a core memory.
Yeah, that's a very well known race.
Yeah.
People know a lot about that race for sure. Yeah. So Sandra Walker says, "You go, Addie. You are an awesome driver." Sounds to me like you've got a lot of fans
Oh
that
yeah, for sure.
that support you. I like hearing that for sure. So, do you think racing has changed you because you've been a part of it? And let me explain myself a little bit. Had you not been involved in motorsports,
Um,
then are there things that you've learned, or how you act, or different things because of what you've learned by being involved in motorsports?
I think that motorsports has definitely taught me a lot about like myself, like mostly in my mental aspect, I guess. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely taught me like how to stay positive and how to just always remember that I'm not always gonna win, no matter how much effort I put in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
definitely taught me a lot about myself.
Yeah. And that's what I call a life lesson, because we're
Mhm.
not always going to win at everything we do. And I don't mean win the race or what, but I mean sometimes things are going to go wrong, and what we want to happen isn't going to happen, or whatever it might be. And those are the things that racing teaches. And I see that in younger girls when I interview them. I often see how much more mature they are at a younger age. And I think
Right.
a lot of that comes from the, the challenges, the obstacles, the things they've maybe had to deal with in racing that applies as a life lesson.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that like it definitely makes them more like mature because they have to deal with all the guys coming at them and just everything that like racing will throw at them, and that's a lot to take in, especially at a young age.
Well, and as a street stock driver, you're racing all kinds of people, all ages
Right,
of people,
right.
right? They could be 70 and they could be 17 and
Hmm.
everything in between. So it's not like you're racing girls your own age,
Yeah.
or, when you play soccer, you're playing against girls your own age. Racing's a whole different deal. Yeah. Maggie Southwick. She says, the Southwick sisters are watching you. Go Addie Page. Oh, that's so fun. So, do you think that the things that you're struggling with, and I talk about it on here some, but I don't think we hear about it much other places. Do you think that there should be more discussion about the way that men and boys treat women at the racetracks, and if so, how would we go about that? You got any thoughts on that? Because
um
I'd really like to kind of champion that and see what can we do to make things better.
yeah, I definitely think that that should be discussed more. That's a huge part in motorsports, especially for women. And honestly, I don't really know the way to go about that. I guess basically, I think that girls should just be posting and like sharing their own stories, especially through like
Hmm.
podcasts like this or like Facebook, just anything. Just like sharing what they're going through with guys, like how I went through the whole thing with the track owner and just stuff like that.
Right, right. I agree. Because it's bullying is really
Yeah,
what it is. I mean, we talk about it happens at schools, and terrible things happen when there's bullying at schools, and we're kind of ignoring that on the racetrack, and that's a shame. We shouldn't be. We need to be making sure that our girls feel safe and welcome when they're
yeah.
there. Yeah, for sure. So, Addie, social media, you're just in that prime age. You can't live without your phone. I bet it's laying right next to you, just like mine is.
Actually, it's not. I'm trying to record myself over there, actually.
Okay. All right. But it's close. It's close by. It's
Right,
handy.
right.
So, how would I find you on social media? How would I follow you and see like
Um,
where you're going to be racing, your results, all that?
so we're actually trying to set up an Instagram and a Facebook page, and we'll definitely get that posted. But as of right now, you could just follow my dad on Facebook, probably,
Okay.
and yeah,
All right. So tell
he
us
posts a lot of racing stuff on there. So
tell us how to follow him. What's his name? And
Arthur Wade is his
Arthur
name.
Wade. So if we want to follow you, that's where we go. We go to
Yeah.
Arthur Wade on Facebook and we would follow you. And so where are you going to be racing this year mostly?
Honestly, everywhere. We haven't really planned out all the races yet,
Okay.
but we definitely want to hit a lot more tracks this year.
Okay. So your dad will be posting your schedule once you get that
Mhm.
together. Yeah. And a lot depends on the weather. You might plan to go to this track and it's raining up north, and so you
Right.
go south. That's
Yeah.
just, yeah. That's the nice thing about not running at a track the whole season, is that you kind of have those options to do
Hmm.
that kind of thing. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And this year, I'm gonna be running for IMCA points too. So,
Okay. All right. So tell me a little bit about that. Tell me what IMCA stands for, and then how does that work?
so I don't really know, but my dad just kind of told me that I was gonna be
Okay.
running for IMCA points. So honestly, could not tell you much about
Okay.
that.
That's all right. Hey, that's okay. We'll let Dad. I'm sure that Dad will post about that on his
Yeah.
page, and so
Yeah.
we'll learn about it there, and that would be fun. So I did a podcast with Betty Nelson. It hasn't dropped yet, but it's going to in a couple of days. Betty Nelson lives out east, and she runs something called the Ladies Acceleration Tour,
Hmm.
and it's women that drive four cylinder and eight cylinder, I think it is, And she just started it, and it's all ladies driving against each other.
Oh,
And
that's
that's a great, when that podcast drops, you should listen to it because it's really cool what she's done. She said, I wish she lived closer. She could be on the ladies acceleration tour.
Oh, yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
It would be. I think they race like once a month or something. And I think they have like 6 races, maybe, or a little more. And so it's not a big commitment, but it's a place where women can race against women because some of these women are a little
Right.
older and they don't want to be out there with the men, you know.
That, and then ladies aren't going to be like bullied by the men there.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. So Joyce Finch says, so proud of you and your confidence. I'm going to agree with you there, Joyce. I think Addie has a lot of confidence in herself and her ability to not only handle the bullies, but to also keep learning and be a good race car driver and just keep getting better and getting better all the time. I will remind your dad, Addie, that if he will tag Women's Motorsports Network, and I think he does sometimes, if he'll tag me on his post, then it's easier for me to follow you and see what you're doing. So remind him about that. And then, is there anything we haven't discussed that you would like to share about your past racing, what you're going to be doing, anything at all?
There is one thing. One of my main goals for my racing career is trying to go out to Boone, Iowa. So that's something that we're either going to try this year or in upcoming years.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. That's a huge race. And I know a lot of ladies that go there. You will not be the only woman there.
Yeah.
For sure. One of my really good drivers that I just love to pieces, her name's Taylor Reimer. No. I have too many Taylors. Taylor Sexton lives in Kalamazoo. Taylor Kuehl, Kuehl. So there's Taylor Sexton lives in Kalamazoo. Taylor Reimer is another driver, but Taylor Kuehl, she lives in Iowa, and she moved from Arizona to Iowa when she was like 19 years old because she wanted to race more in Iowa because they have a lot of good tracks there.
Yeah.
And so she races out there, and I know exactly what you're talking about. The Boone, the Boone. It's like, isn't it like all week long, or it's a big deal? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope you go there, Addie. I think that would be a great
you.
experience for you, and just to see, you know, Iowa's a lot different than Michigan, and and it's not that far for you to go, but they do things different there, and so I think that'd be so fun for you to go do that. Yeah, for sure. Anything else that you want to share before we hang up?
I definitely just want to thank some of my sponsors.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I just
go
want
for it.
to forewarn some sponsors if I forget you. I'm so sorry. So first, I have Classic Chevy. They've helped out so much, just like since when I first started racing the street stock to now. Ron Anklem, who owns Great Lakes Directional Drilling, Prime FX, Miller's Contracting, Jason Genema, Kaminsky's Hideaway, Jim Wade Logging, Terry Huttinga Electric, Clyde Kinney, Hill Barbecue, Smith & Smith Carpet, and then just a lot of my pit crew, like Oakley Barger. He helps out a lot with the car. He's sometimes in the summer he'll just come over and he'll just start wrenching on it if my dad like can't get home or whatever. And then my grandpa, he definitely helps out a lot. He helped out in the mini wedges a lot. And just Richie Sutherland, again, he helps so much.
Yeah, we got to keep those guys coming to help, don't we? And those sponsors, they're so important, you know, and it can be $100, it can be thousands of dollars, but every little bit helps, and you can't do it without them.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely would not be where I am today without all my sponsors.
Yeah, for sure. Oakley says, Kylie and I are proud of you, Addie.
Thank you.
That's a nice thing to say, Oakley. And I think she's thrilled that you're on her team. So it's mutual, I'm sure. Yeah. So, Addie, is there anything else? Last chance to say anything that you want to share.
Just to come out and watch, really. Come out and
Yeah.
support all the lady drivers for sure. And other drivers too, but
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good reminder because those tracks need fans to
yeah,
watch, you know, to watch the races. And if they don't come out and watch, you're not going to have any place to race. And so, unfortunately, I hear every year about tracks that close, and we don't want that to
yeah,
happen, especially here in Michigan. We got to keep our tracks going. So, yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking time. I know you've had school all day and you probably haven't
yeah.
had dinner yet because I know you just got home not long ago. So have your dad take you somewhere good to eat. Tell him to give you a good meal for all this work that you did. And then just hang on after I get done recording. I've got just a little paperwork for you to do.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
thank you so much for having me on this podcast again. This
Oh,
was
you're
so nice.
Addie, I'm so glad that you could be on, and I'm so thankful for all the people that got on and listened and made comments. So thanks everybody for doing that, and I think we're going to do this more often. Addie, what do you think? It went pretty good.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. All right. You stay close. That's it for this episode of the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. We hope you've been inspired by the stories I shared today and feel more connected to the amazing community of women in motorsports. Remember, whether you're behind the wheel, in the pits, or cheering from the stands, your story matters. And together, we're driving change and celebrating every milestone. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who loves motorsports as much as you do. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more incredible stories. So until next time, stay inspired, stay connected, and keep racing through life. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, where every woman's story is worth celebrating.